Town Council says no to the proposed Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Town Council approves a change that will make scheduling Town Council meetings a little easier. And DPW Director Dan Santos gives councilors an update on wastewater planning efforts. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Friday, September 30th, 2016. I'm Sarah Mantle. Town Council votes down a proposal to create a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Town Manager Mark Ells presented the plan before the vote during Thursday's Town Council meeting.
This is an amendment to the administrative code that would create a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. In creating that, the intent is to assist and advise the town, and specifically the director of the Department of Public Works and the town engineer, to develop and recommend fiscally responsible policies that take into account and support non-motorized transportation in the town of Barnstable. Advise the respective Public Works and Engineering departments and the Barnstable Police Safety Unit on how non-motorized users can be accommodated in streets, highways, and open space projects, while taking into account the impact of such recommendations on projects' affordability, promote bicycle pedestrian safety and education, promote bicycling and walking as a means of transportation, recreation, and fitness.
Town Council voted 8-4 against forming a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Council also voted to make a small change to the general ordinance concerning scheduling Town Council meetings. Town Attorney Ruth Weil talked about the need for that change prior to the vote.
Chapter 220 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable codifies the requirement contained in Section 2-6C of the Charter, which states that regular meetings of the Town Council shall be held at a time and place fixed by ordinance, but not less frequent than once monthly. The existing Chapter 220 establishes the first and third Thursday of the month as the days for regular council meetings, except during the months of July and August, when the meetings are to be held on the third Thursday of each month. The proposed amendment to Chapter 220 retains the same number of regular meetings per month, but provides flexibility by allowing the Town Council to vote in December of each year as to which Thursday each meeting will be scheduled for the next calendar year. This amendment essentially incorporates into the ordinance the practice that the council has been engaged in for several years. The proposed amendment also delineates the process for canceling scheduled meetings, as well as the scheduling of special meetings. Section 220-4 of Article 1, establishing the time and place of town council meetings, remains unchanged. And I'm available to answer any questions and walk through the amendments if that would be helpful.
And council voted unanimously to support that change. DPW Director Dan Santos updated town councilors Thursday night on wastewater planning efforts.
So as far as the Cape Cod Commission timeline with the 208 process, back in June of 2015, they had their big meeting at that point, and they announced their schedule for the first phase of the 208 plan. And that first phase was basically submitting watershed reports by the end of June 2016. And those watershed reports were basically built by looking at all of the alternatives for wastewater, solving wastewater in the town. And it's been known as the bookend report. And because what this report does, and it was essentially an academic exercise to look at how you would solve the wastewater problems in the town with solely traditional methods. In other words, building a wastewater treatment plant, and we would service the town entirely that way. And the other end of the bookends would be where we'd use 100% of innovative and alternative technologies, and no big pipe solution, as they sometimes call it, other than what we already have. In that case, we wouldn't be stopping using our wastewater treatment plant. So that was we worked with the Cape Cod Commission over that year and developed the bookend reports, submitted those in the required time in June. And we've been waiting for them to release them. They were putting this all together, and in fact, just today, they released it to DEP, and they've also sent the bookend reports, the watershed reports to the towns, and I received those today, and I will be forwarding those to the council tomorrow, and make sure that you get those and you review those. What we found out in June of 2016 at their annual meeting, the Open Cape, was that the hybrid plans, now, again, the academic exercise of the bookends, that was never intended to be the answer. That was just going to bracket the solution with costs on doing it either of those extreme ways. The answer is going to come in what they're calling hybrid plans, or which is our comprehensive water management plan, or they've also used the term targeted watershed management plans. And a lot of this is still in development with the Cape Cod Commission, with DEP. There's still a lot of unknowns. So we decided early on when we started the RAC that we were going to follow the Cape Cod Commission guidance and guidelines on this. We were going to work within their schedule. So what they announced in June was that they wanted to see, the requirement is that the hybrid plans be completed within 5 years. And we're not going to have any problem complying with that, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment here. So this is our timeline that we're working on and that we've shared with the Water Resources Advisory Committee since we began that. Now, as you recall, that group, town council group, and it has town councilors as members, voting members, and we've had great participation. We started meeting in January, and from that time, we set out a schedule of what we were going to do and how we were going to provide information. And the first few meetings was presenting the 208 plan that was presented by the commission. And then we went into comprehensive water management planning that had been done to date in the town of Barnstable. And then we invited the Cape Cod Commission in, and we heard from Paul Niedzwiecki about what he was thinking about as far as timing would go. And then we started discussing what information don't we have? What information do we need to collect so we can put our final plan together? And we spent a lot of time on that, and we looked at, spent a lot of time on ponds. There's been a lot of interest in ponds. There's 180 ponds in the town of Barnstable. A lot of people don't know that. It's a significant water resource we have. And people were concerned that the 208 plan was not considering freshwater ponds, that it was just dealing with nutrients in the estuaries. That's one part of it, and that's the 208, that's the requirement of 208 with the federal government. However, our plan is going to be complete and look at all aspects of wastewater management in the town of Barnstable. So that's why it's a comprehensive water management plan. So if you take a look at the schedule, you can see that we've completed the bookends, and what we have been working on since then is filling in and completing our data gaps. And what those things are is getting private well data and understanding how much water flow is from private wells, looking at build-out, economic growth, soils conditions, failed septic systems, all this information. And what happens is the next bullet there is why it says complete GIS mapping layers. So what we do, and this is really the state of the art in how we develop these plans today, is you take all this information and you make layers in the GIS system. So you have a layer with private wells, you have a layer with the public water system and the public wells, and you have known groundwater contamination plumes, you have a layer, and poor soils and failed septic systems. So what happens as you build this map up, the areas that have problems, they come to the surface. It's very clear where you need to address these problems. And so that's the process we're doing now and in the early part of next year.
Santos says the group hopes to have a plan in place by this winter. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 8 a.m. On Monday's show, we will learn more about the Centerville Elementary School with Principal Matt Scheifele. We'll find out what's happening at Cape Cod Community College with Communications Director Michael Gross. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.